Hey everyone, it's Jeremy. In this video, I will walk you through the process of administrating your Spirelight email accounts. And the first thing you'll want to do is go to admin.emailarray.com. And the login screen looks similar to this. Once you've logged in, you are going to be landed on a dashboard that looks like this. And so on the left here, you have all the different options, and I'm going to point out the specifics of each one of these that are relevant to what you may need to do. So I'm going to start right here in the admin panel, and sub-admins are, these are probably not going to be a feature that you're going to use. You're welcome to look at that. And I'm just going to skip over that for the sake of relevance in this video. But let's look at security here. You can look at security incidents if there was some sort of a hack that was attempted, or some sort of a login in a foreign country. Those show up here, and so you can kind of keep tabs on that. 2FA, that's two-factor authentication, and if that's enabled for your account, then that will be available here. It's not by default, but if you want extra security, feel free to reach out to us and we can enable two-factor authentication. You may be familiar with it. It's just the type of thing where you, in order to log in to your admin panel here, you would get a text alert or some sort of interaction with another device that would have to be verified before the login is allowed. And so that's what that is. Let's look here at users, and this is where it gets a lot more practical. So this is where you can see all the different email accounts that you have under your domain. And so this particular domain, which is here, typically you're only going to have one domain on your account. These are all the users or email boxes that are available under this domain. And so from here, we can do a number of different things. We can generate a one-time password. Sometimes that might be helpful. We can actually edit this account. If we click edit, let's see what happens. We're going to be able to control the password. You can reset the password right here. You can give the account a new name, the user a new name, and that's not going to change the address, but it will just change the label that's applied to that. You can change their quota. The default mailbox size is 10 gigabytes. If you need to go down with that for some reason, you can. But you can't really increase that unless you have more space assigned to you. So reach out to us if there's some reason you need to increase the quota. There are more options here. These are all pretty set, and you're not going to need to change these, but they have to do with time zones, date formats, that sort of thing. The next is delete. If you need to delete an account, you could do that here. The user control panel, if you click that, it's going to open into the specific controls for that particular user. Now, users on the individual level can also log into this area, and they can do that. They won't do it through the admin login, but they would actually log in through a separate login that I'll talk about in a different video. But from here, you can also reset the password, you can do a vacation message, you can check the spam quarantine, you can control the whitelist and blacklist here, filtering, that sort of thing. And so and there are a number of other things here. You can control the IMAP folders here, rename them, add new folders, that sort of thing. So this is on the user level, you can control these items right here. And then here you can click right here to jump directly into webmail for each of these mailboxes. And this is a nice feature for the admin to be able to use if they need to jump into webmail without having to try to remember the password that was assigned to a particular box. And so if you click on this, it can jump right into the webmail interface, and you can see, you can control or rather manage messages right here in this interface. And so that's the rundown of this particular, the users area here in the dashboard. Again, you can see a number of other details about these accounts, the last login, their quota, that sort of thing. And so that's useful. Domains here. Again, you typically are only going to have one domain assigned to your admin account. If you have multiple domains and multiple email addresses across those domains, this may be different. alias domains. This is an alias domain can be added if you want to basically just mirror the accounts on a certain domain with another. Let's say you had a domain called firstbaptistchurch.com and you had your email addresses at firstbaptistchurch.com. You could set up firstbaptistchurch.org as an alias domain. And that way, any email that might be sent to email at firstbaptistchurch.org will automatically get forwarded to that, the parallel email box that actually exists at the .com domain. And so basically an alias is just it's a nickname for your primary domain. And so those can be added here. This next section is called aliases, and aliases, they work similar to an alias domain, but it's actually just an alias for a particular mailbox. And so let's say that I wanted to create a new alias for this domain, and let's just call it hello. So I'm not going to have an alias creates basically just a shortcut to a particular mailbox. So I can say hello at grace4mauiaku.com, and the forward destination, I want to send it to an internal box. In other words, it's going to be a mailbox that exists on the domain. So I'd choose one of these. Let's choose the pastor. And then I would just click add alias. Okay, so now anyone that sends email to hello at grace4 is going to, that message is going to land in this email box. And so by doing this, you can create any number of aliases, and you could then give out hello at your domain, or info at, or office at, or whatever you want, whatever you set the alias up as. You can give that email address out without actually having another mailbox to manage. So messages sent to this alias will be delivered here. So that's the benefit of using aliases on your mailbox. The downside is that you cannot send from an alias. It's only for receiving. So if I wanted to send somebody an email from hello at, I would have to actually set up a mailbox for that account. And so keep that in mind as you move forward in that way. I'm going to go ahead and delete this guy. Now let's talk about lists. Lists. A list is simply, it's also called a distribution list. And that is where I'll just walk you through it. When you create a new list, you're going to give the list a name. And that name is going to take the form of an email address. And then you can apply users to that list. And so that rather than sending an email to 5 different people, you can simply send it to the list address, and internally the system here will distribute that then to those 5 people. So let's say the name, or rather the list was, let's say it was leaders at Grace4, and it's going to be a distribution list. I'm going to add it, and then I'm going to edit. And here is where we can add members to the list. So if they're internal members, I can go ahead and add them here. Okay, so I could add that guy, I could add this one, and I'll add this one. Okay, so now this is set, and if someone were to send an email address to this address, or rather send an email to this address, that email message would be distributed to all 3 of these mailboxes. So that's basically how this works, and you can delete them here. Let's talk for a moment about adding an external member. Now, an external member is an email address that exists outside of your domain. So let's say I wanted to send it to jeremyg@hotmail.com. All right, then that would be an external member, but they can be sent they can be added to a distribution list as well. And this external members I did not mention, but that also exists for aliases. You can create an alias on your domain that forwards to an external mailbox. And so that's really helpful as well. Okay, so I'm going to delete this list. We're not going to need that. And then we're going to move on down smart lists. Um, let's see, smart lists. Let's check that out. Again, I can give it I can give the list a name here, and I can specify members of the list, or I can automatically add any of the users that are on this domain to the list. In other words, any new members that are any new email addresses that are created, they're automatically added to this list. And then you can also restrict who can send to this particular list. So not everyone can send to this. Only members of the list can send messages to it. And so there are some other features of a smart list that are a little more advanced than a typical list, but it works in basically the same way. Let's look at filtering. Now this is where you can control on the domain level, you can control the whitelist and blacklist if you're having issues with certain emails that keep coming through, spam or whatever that you don't want, then you can control a lot of that right here. This is the overall spam filter. You can control the settings, how sensitive it is, how long spam is held in queue before it's deleted. If you want to receive a spam report, you can control that right here. And so that's also, those settings are available right here. The whitelist, the blacklist, IP access lists. There's branding here, and then branding is where if you want to, for the webmail, if you want to upload your own logo that replaces the default group office logo, you can do that here if this feature is enabled on your account. Let's jump to settings. These are just some general settings for the overall administration of the email. You can change the admin password, system text, admin panel timeout. To be honest, I'm not sure exactly what these are. You can check them out if you like. So that's about it then there's some logs here. You can check anytime something is done here from the admin panel, it's logged, and so you can kind of check the status here as far as what's going on with the account. And so I would say beyond that, you do have up here, you can see the number of accounts that you have used in proportion to the number of accounts that are available. This particular one has 5, and they're using all 5. You can see your quota. This account has 50 gigabytes and a quota. The quota is 50 and all 50 are being used. And so that's quick information that can be accessed right there at the top of the dashboard. So that's a basic overview of administrating the Spirelight email accounts. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. Support@spirelight.com. We're happy to help at any time. And hope you have a great day, and I'm sure we'll talk to you soon.